give it to Doug here. We'll share. We'll start with Bryan on Bryan Ogle. Just welcome. I know you had a little experience coming in here. He's sitting there with I don't know how many broken ribs and a collapsed lung, but he made it. How about that for a trooper, right? So he had a little accident, but you're looking good, and just don't cough or sneeze because I know it hurts because I've had some broken ribs. But let's talk about your involvement with All Racket Sports now. Adidas, you had quite a setup and presentation. We ran into you at Racket X here a little while back, and you know Adidas has been out there in the paddle business for a while, but they've taken another initiative. So maybe update us on what Adidas is doing now and some of your exciting plans for the future.
Someone said something about, to go back real quick, about sponsorship. And for those of you that really understand sport and space, there's retail side of sport and there's sports side of sport. And long story short, in talking about governance, it's probably the most important thing that's going to happen. And the reason I preface what I do with that is Adidas is a $25 billion global brand involved in some of the biggest sports in the world. And I can assure you, I've sat in Herzog in Germany and with the head of sports marketing and people in Adidas, and we're a licensee, by the way, we're not Adidas. So everyone that thinks that I have a huge pocketbook to fund your events, that's not who we are. We're a licensee, we're not Adidas. We work within their purviews, of course. But when I try to explain to very, very smart people what pickleball is, and you start talking about rules and regs from USAP or UPAA or APP and things like that, and their eyes just glaze over, you know it's a problem. Because these are smart people, right? They get it. They work in soccer, they work in rugby, they work in basketball, football, baseball, track and field. Name a sport and Adidas is in it. And it is hard to explain the sport to people. In order for it to be a global sport, when people want to say sport, we have to not make it be a game, right? And the people that are working in pickleball, brands in particular, there's just too many, right? As event promoters, as business people, as regulatory bodies, who's giving back to the sport is important and who's taking, right? And I think you have to have a mixture of both.
Dave Milo, Komodo, why don't you give us a little background? A lot of new people here also today, so give us a background on how you got into pickleball with Komodo and the bio ball. The new bio ball is being used at downstairs in all the tournaments out there today, so you can demo the paddle ball, and we'll make sure everybody gets a ball here before you leave today as well, and also paddles, not just the bio ball, but the paddles you've had before you came up with the bio ball. So talk about your paddles. I know you got another new one coming out as well.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I have to go off on this one too, along with them. You know, as a paddle manufacturer and a ball manufacturer, yeah, we get hit up all the time about sponsorships. And I really believe that when it comes to sponsorships, it's not about, you know, the money that we're putting into these events. It's about what the money is being used for by the people that we're sponsoring. And, you know, the governing bodies, the PPAs, the UPAs, that they're using it in the ways that we don't feel that as paddle manufacturers and sponsors is the correct way. That's my thoughts, and I believe I'm speaking for a lot of other people as well. But you know, I started Komodo 3 years ago, and you know, I'm self-made. I invested myself, my life savings, everything. I've owned several businesses. This is my first retail business, and boy, it's been a road, let me tell you. But it's been, you know, a great success, and be sitting up here with guys like this and being able to speak to people like you is an honor. And you know, we as a company and me, you know, we want to produce the best quality products as we can. I'm just not going to be throwing out paddles left and right because people need paddles. You know, we want to do good for the sport. We're launching our new paddle here in 2 weeks called the Tenant, and it's going to go up against all the best. And we finally have found the secret sauce that we've been trying to come together for a year and a half now, along with the bio ball. You know, the world's first tournament approved biodegradable pickleball. This ball is a game changer. And, we're hoping to get it in the Global Federation. We're hoping that the bio ball is going to be the ball of the world. I've really put a lot of time, effort, and money, and heart, sweat, blood, and tears, and that's been the goal for me as a passion as a paddle manufacturer and a ball manufacturer, is making sure that we can put out the best quality products. So look us up at komodopickleball.com, and we really appreciate everybody's support.
Thanks, Dave. We'll be talking more about some of your projects as well. Doug Mauch, a good friend, a former golf professional, turned to pickleball and was with Diadem for several years with their paddles, and just recently moved to 35 Capital and handling Florida with 35 Capital. He'll tell you more about what some of the properties very invested into pickleball out of Chicago, and also part owner now of the Boca Raton Picklers, now the Boca Sirs, the World Championship team that I'm a partner of as well, that won the whole thing last year. So we've had some good road trips. We also play pickleball quite regularly too. So he's a good pickleball player, probably a better golfer than pickleball player. But I won't go any further there. I've never played golf with him, but I know I could probably beat him anyway. All right, Doug, go ahead. How's that intro?
I have no idea what to say now. But yeah, golf, well, as I say, golf was my previous life, and but there are so many similarities from the golf world and the technology and the advancements and what the USGA did with the, with the coefficient of restitution, which is now, as he knows, part of the testing for the paddles. But yeah, I'm lucky to be with 35 Capital. We own most of Paddletek, started ProXR. ProXR, some people say they haven't heard of, but we have a pretty good stable of athletes with, Zane Navratil as the face, Riley Newman, Connor Garnett, just signed Kate Fahey. But 35 Capital, when I was with Diadem a couple years ago, I saw a press release that this venture capital company was coming into pickleball and purchased a few companies, and I said, well, this is what we need. There's money being put to pickleball, which is pretty exciting. And I had no idea 2 years later I'd be working with them. They're based in Chicago. They own the Chicago slice of the MLP. They own part of, or with a collab with Squares golf shoes, which is a pretty big golf shoe now, the ProXR shoe, which is really good. So they're a huge part of pickleball. So it's really exciting what they're doing. They're looking for other companies. They own part of Move, M-U-E-V, a new clothing company. So I'm excited to be with them and what we can do and to build pickleball, and they're all about that and going forward. And this conversation could be probably a 3-day conversation about paddle technology. I was on this panel last year with Curtis Smith from Paddletek, who I now work with, and also Raphael from Gearbox. And we were talking back then about the new rule that was coming in, the coefficient of restitution. And it was rumored to be 0.40. And they had a chart that was kind of private, and then they made it 0.44. And this November, it goes down to 0.43. Yeah, I don't know if you understand the coefficient of restitution, basically is the trampoline effect. And when it goes to 0.43, we will see some other paddle companies or paddles that will not be approved. If it went to 0.40, according to that chart, there would have been 18 other paddles that would not have been approved this past December and sunset in a couple days on July 1st. So it's a huge topic now with the UPA, PPA, and USAP. We hope to find an ending soon and where everybody can be together and make one rule for paddles and move forward.
That's one of the biggest issues, and that's what, Carl Schmitz is very involved in that aspect with USAPA. UPA is doing their own testing. Joining us, a new USA Pickleball member, has been working with Carl a very short time, but he was traveling with Carl, was going to be part of this panel, but now he's sitting in for Carl as well, so Carl's been feeding him notes and everything. So Riley, thanks for jumping in here. We're putting you under fire a little bit, but you're going to be involved in the compliance and the equipment standards of USA Pickleball. So maybe you can just relate a little bit about what you're looking for with USA Pickleball. We know that certain paddles have been, I guess, banned illegal.
Decertified, yeah.
Your mic on there?
Hello? Yes.
Okay. just hold it close there. Okay.
Okay.
So just talk about the paddles. Is it July 1st that they're actually the paddles that will be no longer on the market? That's coming up pretty quick.
There is a certain number that are being that are coming off the list on July 1st. Like what he was saying, that was above 0.44, right? So there's just a few paddles on that list, and then going forward, it's going to be 0.43. But real quick, just to give a quick background, I've been at USAP for only 3 weeks, like Carl said. But previously, I was at Dick's Sporting Goods for 12 years in manufacturing. So a lot of what these guys have been talking about, I completely agree with, because that is my background.
So talk about the testing. What's going on now with USA Pickleball with the testing aspect, with Carl and some of the things. I know he's been working on a lot of new things and new testing, and obviously trying to define the right barometer for the paddle companies.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coefficient of restitution is going to solve a lot of problems. The main one being that the UPA and USAP have different values. So again, hopefully that can align at some point. The spin test is what we're working on now, and hopefully we'll have some information in the coming months on that. And then also there's going to be some potential portable devices that can be tested on site at tournaments. That's the two things that we're striving to get going here.
Yeah, I think the on-site testing is a big issue. From the paddle standpoint, Bryan, with Adidas, now I know you have weights and you have different types of technology that you're integrating with the paddles. Talk about the process with your new paddles and the whole testing aspect within the industry and the paddles, because that's always a hot topic. You got PPA, you got APP with different technology and different paddles that are approved, which is another way of getting on the same page in the industry. When you have two pro associations with different roles and different testing and different referees and everything else, scoring and who knows what, but we've got to get on the same page. I don't know when that's going to come, but as far as paddles, I mean, somebody can play in a PPA event with one paddle, they can't play in the APP event, and then there's a rec player comes up, hey, this I can play with this paddle. Well, he said, I don't belong to any pro association. I'm an amateur. Can I play with this paddle? And then he bangs and hits a couple women, a couple players, rec players, and they get hurt. And he said, yeah, that paddle is just too strong. So it's a safety issue too. It's not just more power for the pros, but the safety issue we talk about with the eyewear. But we're seeing people getting body bagged, and even pros. I mean, we saw the MPL last weekend. I mean, guys just get nailed. The ball is coming so fast off these paddles, and even the quiet paddles. There's a big controversy with the quiet paddles right now. So, Bryan, talk a little bit about the Adidas paddle and some of your technology and testing that you guys went into before you came out with your paddle.
There is not enough hours in the day to go through this. Let's just start there. And I have to compliment both organizations actually before I make these remarks, because USAP and UPAA have both been partners in developing paddles and approachable, and will return emails and phone calls and all those type of things. And I think that both groups have the best of intentions for what they think needs to happen in the game to make it, parity. Let's call it parity of paddles. The rating system's supposed to create parity of play. Let's call it parity of paddles on the output side. Just to give you an example, to submit a paddle to UPAA today, I have to have them be black with no cosmetics and the name of the paddle and the manufacturer on there to submit for testing. Okay, check. To submit to USAP, and that's 5 that I have to give to UPAA. To submit to USAP, I need 8, right? And they need to be cosmetically correct with logos, certification marks, all that type of stuff, and they go to several different places. So just from a pushing the ball down the field type of perspective, you have to be on top of this every single day. You can't rest on your laurels, and it takes time, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. So even from a manufacturer standpoint, the navigating the waters between the two entities in the United States to create the paddles you want to have on the market is an expensive and time-consuming process. And the governance part of equipment is important, because I could go order paddles off Alibaba tomorrow and get them in 6 weeks with USA Pickleball trademark or certification stamp on it, and it's never been anywhere, right? So that's the environment that we're in. And as a brand, as Adidas, as All Racket Sports, we need some clarity on what we need to do to go forward, because as these regulations change, I know some people manufacture in the US, some people manufacture abroad. I'm not going to get into that. But once you've pushed send and you've bought materials and it goes into production and there's a regulatory change on, oh, you have to have the name of the paddle on the face, not on the edge guard, or I'm sorry, but that stuff's on the water already. You know, they have to keep pushing out these sunset dates on when things are legal or not legal, because from a manufacturing standpoint, it's not decision on Monday, paddles on Tuesday. It's decisions on Monday, September 1st. It's paddles on December 1st. So I think both regulatory bodies, and I say both, right now I talk about UPAA and USAP, and we need more acronyms, by the way, but they've got to come together, because big brands, and I would consider Adidas to be a big brand, are not going to jump in with both feet into this sport with sponsorship and event footprints and all that type of stuff until these regulatory bodies come together. It's just not going to happen.
Very good points. Dave, I know with you've probably got some stories in regards to getting paddles approved and so forth. Similar stories. I think probably, but how many paddle companies are out here? People that have paddles? Okay. So we have consumers out here, but we had quite a few yesterday here also, and talking about, you know, we've talked to many different paddle companies, and I agree with that. Some friend of mine I just played with the other day, he goes, I got the new Eula paddle, cost me $50 on Alibaba or something. Says it's a clone. It's the exact same as the guy next to him that paid $300. I said, wait a minute, that looks like the exact same paddle. It has USAP, you know. So how are you guys dealing with that issue?
I mean, just mentioning, you know, you can just go onto Alibaba, you know, just and maybe design something or just buy off the shelf and then create a paddle company, right? That's never been submitted. So my first job is actually going after a bunch of brands that are, there's about 80 right now that we've found, that not necessarily counterfeit. Counterfeit's a different problem, and that's a harder problem. We're talking about somebody who just never submitted to USAP, goes on to Amazon and starts selling. A lot of times these are Chinese companies, and they may not know, or they purposely are doing it. But regardless, regardless, I've already sent out probably 10 letters showing, hey, these are paddles that have been submitted. You have to pull them down, or not been submitted, and you're selling them. You have to pull them down and submit them, right? The counterfeit part is tough because honestly, a Gen 3 paddle is really easy to make. It's just really easy to make. I think you guys would agree. So if a subcontractor of a factory that was making a paddle learned how to make it, they can now make it. They don't have business, and they'll go to an agent and sell it on Alibaba. So that's another thing that, you know, is on my list of to-dos. But the first thing is the non-compliance part.
Yeah, that's we pretty much all aware of some of those issues. But David, talk about your story with your, launching your paddle and the trials and tribulations. Is, you don't have a big company behind you. You're doing it all on your own. So I'm sure you've had some sleepless nights trying to get. And you got a new paddle coming out now, and just the process of getting. It's not that easy. He said. We had Ray here yesterday, a friend of mine. He just came out with a Ninja paddle. He said, I just came out with his own paddle. Everybody I've talked to recently is coming out with a paddle, just so for whatever reasons. But it's the marketing behind the paddles and all the work that goes in. It's not that easy to say, okay, I'm gonna have my own paddle. I'm gonna have the Carl Foster paddle next week. You can buy it on Alibaba. But so go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. I probably get 5 to 7 emails a week from paddle manufacturers overseas, and they have pictures of Yola and Selkirk and ProXR and all this stuff on there, and we can make OEM products for you and all that, and we just laugh all the time, and I sometimes get get charismatic and email back and say, yeah, send me some. They're like, oh no, it's $50 per prototype. And I said, well, if you really want me to have your paddle, send me one. And I finally had someone actually do it, and it was garbage. But as a small company and doing it myself, yeah, it's challenging. From the designing to the prototyping, getting them to my pros to play and see what they think. I mean, this paddle that we're releasing, the Tenant, I mean, we've been working on this for 9 months, and it's back and forth, and it's, I don't make them here in the U.S., I make them abroad. We do all the designing and all the testing here. So, I mean, it's 5 days shipment, 5 days back, 5 days shipment, 5 days back. And then when you go into the registration side, like we do, with the USAP, and I'm not in the PPA or the UPA. I've kind of banned myself from getting into that regime, and that could be another week-long topic to talk about. To expedite and to do paddles, when I first started 3 years ago, my first paddle cost me $1,750 to get certified through the USAP. This last one cost me $8,000, and I expedited it. And I hate to say this, but expediting said 3 to 8 days. It took them 14 days to give me an answer back. And after day 8, I'm going, okay, well, it's going to get denied. Let's go back to the drawing board. And we started working diligently for the next 5 days on designing another paddle, because I had to have a oh crap moment of this one's not going to pass. That's how good it is. And we sent it to independent testing labs all over the world. I have connections all over, and we got different test results from here and different test results from there, and oh, it's too hot, oh, it's not hot enough, oh, this and that. And so I'm just sleepless nights, lots. And it's hard, I mean, for a small guy like myself, it is hard. I don't have the billions of dollar background, or the venture capitalists that I can go to and say, hey, I needed another, a couple $1 million to work this out. It's okay, what are we going to do? How we do this? How do we grind through it? And it's something that, is, as an entrepreneur, it's challenging to me, and I love it. And I wouldn't give it up for the world. And, my daughter's not here. She's on a court somewhere. But, that's my driving force, and seeing her smiles when she comes on my desk and go, okay, Dad, what paddle am I going to take today? And she rips off a paddle and goes next door and starts playing. Oh, I love it, Dad. So it's really a lot of fun. But, the industry does need to tighten its belt. I mean, we do need to get, the UPA has their set of rules, the USAP has their set of rules, and what avenue are we going to follow? And, there was a group of paddle manufacturers that all got together, and they were going to say, okay, no, we're going to put our foot down. And I was like, right on, let's go do that. And then the nationals came around, everybody went, whoa, we're not going to do this. And only 2 of us said, yes, we're going to do this, and we're not have our paddles in the PPA or the MLP. That's a choice that I made, and I feel that there's other avenues to go down. So, that's where my thoughts and Komodo Pickleball's feelings are on the paddle space.
Why did you choose not to go with PPA?
The UPA?
Yeah.
I don't believe that I should pay $25,000 for a paddle to have my name that big.
I knew the answer. It's more than that.
Well, yeah, but when we were first started, that's what it was. And I bowed out right then. And then I said, well, what if I want my logo on the paddle? And it was $75,000. Or you can give us $100,000 a year and be a sponsor, and you can have that paddle free. And I was like, I have one player playing, and I'm not going to do it. And I now had to drop that player because the PPA put their foot down on him, and he can't even go to any kind of tournament, any kind of teaching arrangement, any kind of guest appearance, and play with my paddle. They said he will be kicked out of the PPA. And I can't allow him to lose his contract over my contract, so we just kind of parted ways.
That's a lot of people may not know some of those, but we're hearing about it daily, in the industry and so forth, and some of the challenges between the 2 associations and the pricing, which is just people are not happy. Players aren't happy either. I mean, players are getting banned by leagues and controlling because it's a money grab. That's what we call it. It's called a money grab, and it's not fair to the industry. It's not fair to the players, and they're lining their pockets in some of these associations. USA Pickleball, your rates are also going up. It's nowhere near what UPA, but you're competing now with another association. So in regards to that, with the paddle companies, and what Dave brought up, what are some of the things that you guys, I know you're working on the testing, but was it Selkirk or Paddletek that's doing their own testing now, doing some intense testing? Yeah, so, doing some intense, but they can test all they want, but if they can't get their paddles approved by the association, what's that going to do? I mean, are you guys going to be working with them and they're testing, or do you guys work with other paddle companies on the testing process, or is it going to be USA Pickleball saying this is our formula, this is what we approve?
I mean, I'm a little new for this question, but I would say at this point, we like our tests, right? I did have to work with the UPA as a manufacturer, and it wasn't the clearest of all time. I'm not saying USAP hasn't had its issues in the past, but as a manufacturer, of course, I want them to come together, and that's going to be an ongoing conversation. But I can't tell you right now when that would happen or if that would happen. I don't know.
Doug, you've been involved in testing, and we talked a lot about it last year with Paddletek, and we've talked with a lot of the other paddle companies. From last year to this year, how have you seen the industry change, or is it getting any better? Is it getting worse, or what's? I mean, now you're with, you've experienced yourself with other paddles, and now you're with another company, so you're getting closer on the insight with Paddletek and ProXR. So what's the talk with the paddle companies as far as where the industry is, as far as standards and compliance and testing?
I've got about 90 things to say, but well, first I mentioned ProXR staff. Paddletek does have Anna Lee Waters as well. You've all heard of her, so we're very proud of that. From last year to this year, we thought it would get more clear and better, and it's probably gotten 100 times worse. And I live and breathe this every day. I follow everything with the UPA. I get an email from the head of the UPA probably once a week, like we all do, and it changes every week, it seems like. I think now it's due by September 1st. You have to pay it. Yes, Paddletek is in there. Obviously, we have a lot of players on tour. So is ProXR. So they are in the UPA because we have to be. My previous company, I was with ProDrive. We were not going to pay that $50,000 and then $75,000 and $800,000 or $100,000 marketing fee. It just wasn't worth it. And a couple of our senior players couldn't play in the PPA events because we had not paid that. So it is the most confusing thing. And again, I read everything about it. I'm sure we all do. Dave Johnson, who has COVID, could not be here. He has a great newsletter that covers all this stuff too, and I think he's even pretty confused about it all. Again, we thought it would be figured out by now, and it does seem to change daily. I do believe in the USAP testing, the coefficient of restitution, the trampoline effect, that determines power. I'm not a big fan or worry about the spin effect. To me, the spin is player-driven. Spin, just like a golf club, is based on the angle of the face relative to the path. I don't believe spin is that much of an issue. For 98.6% of players, that they don't even spin the ball, they hit the ball flat. And all those players, too, have no idea what we're talking about. That's the sad thing. Well, it's probably the good thing. If you went to any courts, if they knew what we were talking about right now, they'd be blown away. The issues that we're having in paddle technology and safety and everything else, they play to have fun. The 1.4% of us that understand it think it's crazy. It is kind of fun to watch, and we hope it figures itself out. But again, on November 1st, that 0.1 difference could knock out another 8 paddles. So we don't know what's going to happen then. And now we're all trying to figure out how to make a paddle. I know the Paddletek, we're coming out Monday with a new paddle, the GTO. It's barely legal, or it's on that threshold. But as we all know, there are some paddle manufacturers out there that make paddles. I don't think they hear it because you just asked the question. There's no other paddle manufacturers out there, right? But I won't say the names. But their paddles are made, we believe, some of them, to break down after 2 or 3 weeks. They pass the testing, and then some people use core crushing, whatever you want to use. They become softer. The ball comes off more powerful. that is a major issue. Okay, that's genius technology, how they build it and designing to create a paddle like that, but we all know what happens. In the NPL that I'm a part of, there were some paddles in our first matches that the ball's flying off of, and everybody's saying that can't be legal. Well, it was legal, and we don't have on-site testing right now. We are going to have on-site testing probably in our next match or in August to test for that, because it is a problem, because they get softer and more trampoline effect. So to answer your question, no, it has not gotten better. When I started 4 years ago, we used the term wild, wild west. Now I don't know how many wilds there are to describe it. I thought it would get better. And someone mentioned the number. Carl Schmitz told me 2 years ago, in 2023, the number of companies that sent in a paddle to be tested, not number of paddles, and I think I guessed 300. He kind of smirked and laughed and said 1,723. That was in 2023. Okay, who knows? And he calls them two guys in a garage, which is what everybody's doing. And Dave mentioned, if you put pickleball on your LinkedIn profile, you will receive 1 to 2 messages a day. And if it's on your email address, and I played the game a couple of years ago, I get the emails and I said, sure, send me some paddles. I paid $17 just for DHL shipping to receive 2 or 3 paddles, and they are garbage, okay? And all these counterfeits, every sports industry, and a lot of industries, I know someone, a good friend of mine, makes guitar strings. They get counterfeited. It's a huge problem. It will never probably end, okay? Because all these factories say they won't make it for you, but they do. So golf clubs, huge issue. I mean, billions of dollars with counterfeit clubs. It's the same in pickleball. I don't think it could ever stop unless big governments get involved. So, again, to answer your question, no, it's gotten worse, and hopefully someday it will get better.
So we'll see next year if it gets any better. We have another year to work on it, right? So I wanted to ask you a question specifically while you got the mic, too. I know one issue, I was down there at the MPL. I'm part of that league and have seen it grow, and you see the players, and the players are the ones complaining because it's not a fair playing field. And no matter how good you are, and these are the best players in the world, complaining that it's just not, one of them was a quiet paddle. I know you guys work with Al, because they're not hearing the ball come off the paddle, and it's killing people. I mean, not killing, literally, but I mean, it's just play against. Anybody played against that paddle? You can't hear it. A lot of the paddles are so quiet, and it's so fast. It's a safety issue, but it's also, it's the surface too, but I know they're doing it because of developments to say they don't like the pickleball noise. We know there's lawsuits all around the country. They can't build courts here because the residents don't want to hear bing, 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 bing. But they can hear a basketball bounce. They can hear tennis balls, but they don't like the pickleball sound. So they're fighting that issue. So we'll come up with a quiet paddle, right? So address that first. I know you had another comment too.
That's fine. Obviously when the quiet paddle certification came out, I was still working at Dick's Sporting Goods. And it was obviously to address all the lawsuits that were going on. So I do think that the ball coming off the paddle and you're not hearing it like you're used to hearing it was an unintended consequence, right? So I do think that the more recent paddles are generally quieter. So as far as I know, I've heard a lot less on the quiet issues. If you guys agree with that. So although that is still a certification, I think paddles in general are just going to become quieter, especially with all the new configurations that are coming out with foam, right? Not just the Gen 3, but that's going to explode too. So I personally think that that quiet problem is a lot less than it used to be. Right. Yeah.
All right, we want to leave some time here for questions. I know you probably have some questions out there, so let's open up for a couple questions in regards to the paddle technology and some of the things that are going on there. While we got these guys up here, and it's issues we could debate and talk probably all day long on this topic. And so let's see if you've got any burning questions. If you're opening up a new club and you're looking to buy paddles, if you're looking for a bio ball, there's a lot of people I know building new facilities, and you all have pro shops, and so 1,723 paddles, 23. So that must mean there's probably a lot more than that by now, like a couple thousand, right? At least. Or, do you have any idea?
I can check. I have to. I'm still too new.
Yeah,
It's probably around 2,000.
At least a couple thousand. That's just applying for certification. It's not all the knockoffs and the people just making paddles.
Yeah, plus all the people I have to go after, and they're going to become certified, right?
Right, exactly. So it's a bunch. All right, Adam's got the microphone. Who's got?
I've got it right here.
Okay.
Hey guys, thank you very much. It's really insightful, and the paddles, especially the paddle certification, I think is something extremely confusing, and it's preventing a lot of people possibly from getting into that space within our ecosystem. I'm curious, is this an international issue as well? Like, what are they doing internationally in terms of certifying the paddles? And subsequently, as the sport becomes a worldwide sport, and we're talking about Olympics, et cetera, is there going to be a unifying world body that says, hey, these are the paddles that are acceptable for certification?
I mean, I can just say that that's what was Paul Olson's whole point, the first talk, and it probably does need to come together and, to be successful like international golf or international tennis.
There is our little group that has the Adidas license. We're distributed in a lot of countries around the world, and there is actually asks of facility providers, tournament organizers in places in other countries around the world, and they want some kind of equipment certification logo on the equipment. And right now that requested logo is USAP. I think that's what more people recognize right now around the world is a regulatory body.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'll agree with that. We're launching in Europe and Australia right now, and that's the first thing that they're saying is do you guys have the USA Pickleball logo on your paddles, and are they certified, and we can look them up? So I think to answer your question, yes, I think the world is implementing USAP right now because the UPA is more of the PPA MLP tournament organization right now, which they're trying to become a lot higher than that.
Yeah, good point. We're talking a lot about the international growth, and that's the phase there too, with especially the distribution with the paddles. And we'll be talking with Riff and Marlon a little bit later about the international aspect and just some of the things. It seems like a lot of topic conversations right now because we see the growth of pickleball outside of the U.S. just exploding in all these other countries. So that's another situation, and who's the governing body in the U.S. and international, worldwide. So, Adam, we have another question back there?
No, not yet. Anybody else?
Okay. Any other questions? We answered everybody's questions? We got one here.
I guess this is for USA Pickleball. Do you guys reference any other sports like baseball bats in baseball? Like youth baseball bats or metal bats are up and down all the time, negative 11, 12, like do you guys reference any of those governing bodies when you guys are kind of making your next decisions in the evaluation process?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they have done that prior to my time. Me being from Dick's Sporting Goods, I'm well aware of the Youth Bat 2 governing bodies and how they've kind of gone through their growing pains. It's definitely something that I'm going to be looking at. For example, in my division, I was also golf. So we did vertical brand golf. If you guys know of MaxFly, that's owned by Dick's Sporting Goods. I do plan on reaching out to some of these other governing bodies, getting a relationship, and seeing if there's anything that I can glean from them that maybe was not, maybe was missed in the past. But yeah, I think the youth baseball is a fascinating example.
Yeah, I think a lot of sports are dealing with equipment standards and issues in regards to that. I mean, I remember tennis going through the issues for many different years with the expansion of the size of the paddle, brackets, and everything else. So, we have a question back here.
Yeah, I had a question. Being the data-driven person that I am, I went to USA Pickleball and pulled all the approved paddles from the list, and it was a painstaking operation, but I did it. And I was amazed to find out since 2023, I believe, there was about 1,200 approved paddles. And when going to Amazon, when going to find a lot of the companies, a high percentage of them, didn't even have a website or a company entity that we could find. And for somehow they were hidden behind the barrier of Amazon in some way, which I guess these gentlemen don't appreciate. But 1,200 I pulled, and they were approved paddles. I mean, I didn't understand how that could be like that.
Are you saying that there was a lot of paddles on Amazon that were not approved?
No, I was saying that they were there, they had a presence, but there was no company website presence or anything, you know, to promote who they were. I mean, for somebody to go, maybe one of you gentlemen can answer that.
So I have an old colleague I just saw out there, and Tim's sitting back there, and he'll relate to this from our days at Babolat together. But we have a relationship with a very big Amazon retailer, right? And there's people that do e-commerce, and there's people that do Amazon, and they are two different animals, completely 100%. And I talk to this individual at least a couple times a week, usually him calling me about this person's not obeying MAP or that person's not obeying minimum advertised price. He has shared with me on more than one occasion, there are more pickleball paddles sold. He sells more pickleball paddles monthly via Amazon from brands that none of us know than the big brands that we do know. The aggregate of the big brands is not matching the aggregate of those brands that we don't know. So to your point, the 1,200 paddles seems completely fair to me. And they're not a company, right? They're not a company. They made a paddle somewhere in Asia, they got it approved, they shipped it to an Amazon warehouse, and that's their business model.
Oh, okay,
they are doing
okay.
nothing for the sport of pickleball, not one damn thing.
Yeah.
They are only taking.
Okay, thank you.
I want to say one more thing to that as well. Pickleball manufacturing, it's a very low barrier of entry compared to other sports like golf or tennis. So I also think that's why it's very easy to do, right? I'm not saying it's good. I liked your point there that they're not doing anything for the sport, but that's China. You know, if there's money there, factory's gonna pop up. I think there's hundreds of factories now that can build pickleball paddles. Where 9 years ago when I started, it was probably 5, yeah. And it was kind of like, oh, these guys know how to do tennis rackets, so they are capable of making a paddle. Now it's just kind of exploded, so.
Good points, Riff.
So I have an office in Shenzhen, China. I have probably been to 50 different paddle manufacturers because the vast majority of paddles that are brought to the United States all come from those factories. The 1,200 that you're talking about here being sold on Amazon is just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on in China. I personally believe that the #1 priority for the sport of pickleball is one international governing body. Once that takes place, the most important aspect is getting the paddle technology under control, along with the ball. And it's not that easy to do, as all of you know. Because one of the things that I never hear talked about is that the ball that we all utilize, whether it's a Como ball or whether it's a Selkirk ball, they're all very weather dependent. How the ball comes off that paddle significantly changes when a ball is played indoors at 70 degrees, or when it's outside and it's 45 degrees, or when you're in the humidity of Florida and it's 95 degrees. And when I hear Ben Johns and other professional athletes talk about today, it's not about your skill that's being tested. It's about what equipment you're using. We have a major problem in pickleball. That old adage that it's the swordsman, not the sword, is at the point today where that's just not the case. So at United World Pickleball Federation, we believe we need to have the support from the testing stage on of major manufacturers that have been doing this for a long time, not any one organization that is arbitrarily making rules, because you guys are manufacturing it. And I don't blame you guys, because everybody is trying to sell more paddles. And if you take a look at what's happened in the last 5 years, the only way to make more paddles is you make them more powerful. Then you got to add more spin. And as a result of all that, I think one of you mentioned safety. Well, to me, the most important part of pickleball is safety. When I go to a park, and we all talk about the importance of the beauty of our game is that you can play from 5 to 85, and it's an easy game to learn. And all of a sudden, you come out on the court, and you're a beginner, and you're playing against somebody that's got one of these hot paddles and trampolining effect, and you're telling that person to come up to the line, which is one of the first strategies you learn as you begin to develop the game, and you're getting popped. That may be your last time coming up to play pickleball. You're not the welcoming community anymore. So if we're trying to grow the game at the grassroots level, and we're allowing this type of technology to overcome what the game was invented by. You know, the people that invented this game came up with a game that was a great equalizer. This didn't just happen by accident. I was blessed to be able to spend several days with Sid Williams. I was blessed to spend time with Barney McCollum before both of them passed away. They spent time talking about how to develop this game so it would be a family game, so that you could be 65 and 70 years old and play with a 15-year-old. So men and women could play equally. We're beginning to lose all that. So it's a major, major concern here at United World Pickleball Federation. And I would welcome a committee of the leading paddle manufacturers, not asking for your money, we're asking for your expertise, because this has got to get solved if we're going to save pickleball.
Thanks, Riff. Riff's going to be speaking a little bit later, right after lunch, too, by the way, with Marlon on more of the international governance and so forth. Go ahead, Rick.
First of all, you are 1,000% correct, and we appreciate what you're doing. Just want to say, one, Paddletek, I didn't believe this, is made in Niles, Michigan, just as a side note, okay? Number two, pickleball is relatively young, okay? I'm going to say 5 years. If you played 5 years or longer, that's like 90 years in dog years, okay? Pickleball is a relatively young sport for everybody. The USGA, the RNA for golf, USTA, they've been around for 80, 90, how many years? Golf is still trying to figure out rules and regulations. The ball is getting shorter in 2 or 3 years, okay? So they're still evolving. Tennis, probably they talk about every day. The racket, when I played in college, my racket was this thick and the strings were nothing. That's all changed and a lot more powerful. Now tennis is you hit the ball serving, you bench Shelton as a star. John Isner won all of his matches because of his serve power. Okay, but pickleball, we have to be patient. Yeah, it's frustrating, but we're just getting started in my mind, and it will figure itself out. And we need people like you to kind of take over, the governing body like the USGA and the RNA take over the rules of golf. We hope that happens someday. But we are just getting started, and we hope the paddles do stay tame so everybody can play together. But I think it's just going to take some time, and I believe within 2 or 3 years, well, we said this 2 years ago, it will happen.
All right. Any other quick?
I'd like to add to that, too. You know, my 11-year-old daughter is here with me, and she plays competitively. And she plays good enough where she doesn't play with kids. She has to play with grown men. And at 11 years old, she needs to be able to defend herself from a lot of these kids that are downstairs right now that have no control. They're playing with Yolas and they're playing with these hot paddles. And I have to, as a father and as a paddle manufacturer, create something that is equal to so she can play and equally play the game. And I know the standards, and I know where I can push the level to, and I'm going to go right up to that level. But I'm not going to exceed that level. I want to be a family-based company, and I want the same thing that you do. I'd be happy to get on your board and help you do this, because I agree with you 100% on everything that you just said. But I have also a senior pro, John Sperling, that's been in the game for a long time, and when he comes to me and goes, Dave, I'm out there and I'm scared of these paddles out there, and he's a pro player, we have a problem. And so as a paddle manufacturer myself, I'm going to make something that we can push the line right to the edge and protect these players, just like you said, because it is all about safety.
Absolutely. And also Dave is working very closely with a lot of the youth and trying to get the next generation, because that's definitely what's needed right now to grow the sport. As we talk about the Olympics and the future of pickleball, we need the next generation, like his daughter, coming up, and APP is doing a good job with the next gen, the college level, and get that whole aspect up there. And before we let these guys go, I just want to remind you this beautiful painting here. Our artist and Fernando from Art Atlantic Gallery, we're donating that to help build our youth pickleball program with Dave and his Little Dragons. He's got a great organization starting to get our youth with pickleball. A lot of them like travel sports. We know as parents, travel sports are expensive. I don't care what sport it is. You're traveling. My daughter is a ballerina, and just travel and the expenses of being able to support our kids to travel and play sports. She plays soccer, she plays pickleball, to get the travel pickleball teams going so they can play these other tournaments and get more. We wanted to have a youth tournament here, and I only got 2 or 3 kids. I mean, the parents have to want to bring the kids to play in the tournaments. The kids want to play, but they've got other schedules. They're all playing either volleyball, soccer, other sports. So what we're doing is we're fundraising. This event is brought the Veterans Pickleball Association, which I started a couple of years ago. I'm a Vietnam vet. Any veterans here, by the way? I know there's a few back there. Thanks for your service. We honor you. And we're trying to raise, we've been working with the VA and groups like PTSD Foundation with Rami Maxey in Camp Hope in Houston, helping our veterans get back. And they found that pickleball is such a great mental and physical therapy. You got to see some of these veterans we had in the clinics. They were so pumped up and excited. They have this, they're athletes, they're military men, right? But they've had issues, whether it was addictions or from the war or Agent Orange or other things. But they're back out there, and pickleball is bringing them back to life. And to see that, it just chills my heart, as a veteran. So what we're doing, working with Fernando, this is the original artwork. You won't find this anywhere. These are all pickleballs. You look at this flag closely, and it's waving with pickleball paddles. I mean, such an unbelievable concept. And all these pickleballs are all different shades of blue. And just the background of this painting. And is the artist here? He's right back there. His name is Yoram Shalmon. Unbelievable. He was touching it up a little bit yesterday, but it's a $10,000 painting. But you know what? We're donating this. We're going to auction this off Sunday at the end of the expo, and all the funds are going to go. Well, a good portion of the funds are going to go to the Little Dragons to grow youth pickleball with Dave and his work. And we appreciate his work he's doing right now out there. And so yesterday we started selling raffle tickets. So it's $20 a piece for raffle tickets, 6 for $100. Fernando will take your name. You'll sign the guest book. He'll email you a number. And it's all going to go into the system. And Sunday night when we close down, the expo is open tomorrow at the end of the day. We're going to announce the winner. We're going to also put it out. We've already posted it with Dave and his daughter in front of the flag. We're going to push that out on social media and see if we can raise some money to help support. He's trying to get a van to travel with all the Little Dragons out there and play in tournaments. And you go watch his daughter play, and you want to get on the court with her, you better just be careful. She's pretty awesome. So thanks, Dave, for what you're doing. Thanks to Brian, Dave, Doug, and also Riley for filling in for Carl Schmitz. And we hope Carl and Dave both get well together. We're going to take a short break as we got a busy schedule here.